Okay, welcome back. This is the baseball show. This is our favorite day of the week, the day we get to talk about prospects. I am Andy Singleton. This is Ralph Lifshitz. You're tuned in to Maple Press TV. We hope you like what you see. We hope you'll like it so much that you'll subscribe to the channel, leave your comments, and engage in some conversation with us about baseball, fantasy baseball, and prospects. We're going to get into three outfielders today. Three good outfielders, two of which are very well known. One of which is starting to make his way around the circuit and is one of Ralph's favorite guys, a guy I just traded for, and I'm very pleased with getting him back as a result of it. I'm talking about Tyler O'Neill. Canada is in the house, and the infusion of ketchup-flavored potato chip lovers in American sports continues with this guy. I'm curious, is he
delicious?
Is he actually the best hitter that no one has yet heard of?
I think so. I think he is one of the most underrated prospects in the minors. I have, a bit of a prospect crush on this guy. I mean, everything about him I love. Huge hitter, huge student of the game. Made big strides this year in terms of his plate approach, knocked down the strikeout rate. In turn, he was the best player in Double-A that was there for the full season. Won the Southern League MVP, ended up leading the Jackson Generals actually to the Southern League title. Showed that he had that clutch gene. This is something I actually discussed in the Razzball podcast right after it happened. As he, I think he slashed 448, 515, 828. With 3 homers and 9 RBIs in the championship series. So that shows you the kind of player he can be in the big moments. I call him the King of the North. He's a Canadian. His father was actually like Mr. Canada. If you look at the guy, he's a bodybuilder kind of a build, thick neck. But he is a good athlete. I know some people say that he's stiff and all that sort of stuff. Some people have knocked his fielding. He's made huge strides. He's put in a lot of work in the outfield, become, an above average outfielder. I think this guy is sort of that next wave, that first wave of the Dipoto prospects, Jerry Dipoto, obviously the new GM of the Mariners. They've totally changed up their approach in terms of, how they're having their hitters actually, approach hitting. Guys, that have had bad seasons in the past, like DJ Peterson, people are sort of giving up on him. Same thing with O'Neill that had contact issues. They really focused in instructs and then in spring training this year on having those guys have a plan, an approach, and be more patient at the plate. In turn, both of those guys obviously had much better seasons. O'Neill took off. I think he's a top 20 hitter in terms of fantasy baseball prospects. He went to the Arizona Fall League this year. He raked the Fall League, had 3 homers, slash 293, 292, 395, 486. And then if you're looking at, what he did in the regular season, this is a guy that slashed 293, 374, 508 with 24 homers, 102 RBIs, and 12 steals. So he's got a little bit of speed as well. I think O'Neill is off the charts, and he's somebody that you can probably get cheap. And this is probably the last time you're going to be able to get him cheap.
Yeah, so if I probably should have did a better job setting him up. I feel still wondering who the hell Tyler O'Neill is. Outfielder, potentially DH in the Seattle system. I joke he's kind of what Seattle was hoping they got when they drafted Alex Jackson. Although, as Ralph reminds me, they are different types of players, which yes, they are. But point being is he's living up to being a high-level elite prospect. What Ralph was referring to was his 2015 season. He was in the Cal League, and his numbers, he put up 32 homers in that. And people thought it was, inflated, and, he didn't really have, that wasn't his true power, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So he gets bumped up to Double-A to the Southern League in 2016, and he improved across the board in every hitting, aspect. The homers were down a little. It was only at 24, but he improved his RBIs. They jumped up to 102. His batting average, as Ralph said, got to 293. So this was a more neutral hitting part, and he actually did much better as a hitter at a more advanced level. And he was actually younger at Double-A than he was for the level when he was at high A. Mm-hmm. So it's just astonishing that you start doing some research, digging to guys who are kind of flying under the radar. And this is a guy that I think a lot of people are starting to realize, wait a minute, how do I not have Tyler O'Neill ranked higher. And,
Yeah.
by the time spring training rolls around, you're going to see a lot more talk and a lot more buzz about this guy. So if you're in a league that you can make moves off season, if this guy's owned somewhere, try to get him while you can, because the more publications that come out, the more top 100 prospect lists that come out, this guy is literally going to shoot up like a I don't know what, but it's going to be quick. It's going to be fast, and you're going to be sorry if you missed out on it.
Yeah, get him before I mess around and rank him in my top 10, my top 100 coming at the end of February.
There you go, exactly. Once Ralph does it, it's over. That's it. So let's move on to another high profile. Well, I should say another high profile because we just mentioned all about how Tyler O'Neill is not high profile. But Hunter Renfroe, I don't want to get all giddy, but the guy has been consistently good. My real only concern, other than his home park, is that at 25, while technically he's been young for every level he's played at, he's really right on par. He hasn't necessarily been young for a level.
No.
If you look at what they say the average would be, yeah, technically he is, but we all know they need to bump up those. They need to change those average age because they don't necessarily translate over time. Regardless, despite his gaudy numbers, he's not looked upon as necessarily an elite prospect, but rather a very good one. You don't see him popping up in a lot of people's, number one in the Padres organization. He usually is somewhere in the top 5. So that's why I say not an elite level prospect, but rather a very good one. And that's because too many see potential failure with his mechanics. I look at him and say the guy's now hit 27, 20, and 30 home runs over the last 3 years, which is good at any age, which is good at any level, and shows tremendous consistency. So at some point, we got to start looking and going, okay, what may not look mechanically sound works for this guy, and he's figuring out a way to do it. So right now, he has an acceptable strikeout rate, which is right around 20%. Only problem is he doesn't walk too much either, if at all. So I personally like Renfroe a lot. Like I said, more so for the consistency. But there is some reason for concern. What's your take on Renfroe? And before I let you jump in, the big thing for me is I just saw a guy trade his number 1 pick, which was like number 2 overall, and Derek Fisher for Hunter Renfroe.
Wow.
And, yeah, exactly. So
I'd take that for Renfroe.
Yeah, well, exactly. You take it for Renfroe. You wouldn't want Renfroe on that end of the deal.
No, because I like Derek Fisher quite a bit too, but we'll get into him in another episode. He'll probably be a good one. But yeah, I mean, I think people are probably buying into what he did in those 11 games when he came up with the Padres. Obviously the PCL team, him and Margot, they had no reason to bring him up, so they kept him down there. They chased their championship. I think they ended up winning the AAA championship, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
I want to say yes. That team.
I believe they did.
That team was loaded.
They were loaded, yeah, they had a Sway and a few other players. But anyway, so Renfroe came up, ended the season, played in 11 games, hit 371 with 4 homers. If you saw some of the home runs that he hit, they were absolute monster shots. I know they keep on bringing in the fences at Petco. It's actually been playing more power happy over the last few years. So maybe that's becoming more and more of a myth. But this guy's power, I mean, he could hit it out of anywhere. This guy, someone's going to hit, 400 something plus foot home runs on a regular basis. When he gets a hold of the ball, he really connects. There is some swing and miss to his game, and that is certainly concerning. As you said, he doesn't walk almost at all. But there have been other hitters. I know we mentioned earlier in another episode, Adam Jones is one of those guys. That's what his approach is, and that's what he finds success with. He swings with more pitches. He makes contact with more pitches, gets a little bit more luck with the BABIP as well. He's had high averages the last few years, though it has been in the Pacific Coast League. We know those numbers are a little bit inflated, but he hit 30 homers. He was first in homers in the PCL. He was second in RBIs, I believe, with 103 or 104. And his batting average was like 307. He was in the top 10 there, too. This guy put up big numbers. He's proven at each level as he's moved along that he was a solid, one of the better hitters in that league wherever he played. I don't see any reason why he couldn't be a valuable fourth or fifth outfielder on your roto team, good utility player, somebody that gives you some power and some counting stats. And he's probably going to hit, third or fourth in the lineup that is getting better. Will Myers had a great season last year, and Margot's going to hit ahead of him, and Janikowski, and you got two guys with some speed, can move along. I wouldn't be shocked if he finds, a surprising amount of RBIs. I'm a big fan of Renfroe, and he's going to be penciled in as their everyday right fielder.
Yeah, it was 105 RBIs and a 306 average.
There you go.
And the crazy part is, I mentioned that trade, and I personally like Renfroe a lot. I do think, based on the consistency, it is believable that he can put up the numbers that we've seen in the minors. He's never batted below 270. So somewhere in that, in that range, maybe 280, 285 kind of hitter with 25, 30 home runs. I do believe that's achievable for him. But what's funny to me is, as we talk about people not loving his prospect status and not valuing him as one of those elite guys, the redraft community seems to be all in on him because he's going as the 56th outfielder off the board, which is kind of crazy to think that you're going to go all in on a guy who hasn't really proven anything as a major leaguer yet. Plays in a ballpark, and all kinds of scouts and analysts, project failure for this guy. So, if you can make a Derek Fisher and number 2 overall pick for Renfroe kind of deal, give Renfroe away all day, every day. But as far as if you have him and you believe in him and you want to hold, I do think he's legit, and I would like him on my roster. I just don't know that I want to pay the price, depending on where you are.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense to me. I think he actually may have more redraft value for people this year than he may necessarily in Dynasty, as funny as that sounds.
Yes, it is mind-boggling to me to see the disparity between the two. But we'll see what happens. Renfroe is a guy I'm on the fence. Like I said, I believe in him, but it really comes down to what you're going to have to pay to get him. So if you're in that position and you want to know specifically, ask Ralph or I, and we'll apply specifically to your scenario or situation. And so let's move on to the third outfielder we have this week, and that is another kind of high-profile name, at least well-known throughout the minors, and that's Austin Meadows, Pittsburgh Pirate outfielder. He'll be 22 in May, and I personally don't think he's ready yet. I think he's probably a good year away, although he might see the majors this year, depending on how he gets off, the kind of start he gets off to. A lot of people are speculating that he is the reason the Pirates are making Andrew McCutchen expendable. I personally believe it's the combo of Josh Bell being able to hold down outfields and first base that, and Jose Quintana being available suddenly, which the Pirates obviously covet. I think that's what makes McCutchen expendable, not necessarily Austin Meadows being ready. The reason I don't feel he's ready, and I'm sure Ralph will allude on this a little as well, he was rushed through Double-A. He's only got a total of 51 career games at that level, including 45 this past year. Got bumped up to Triple-A. Strikeouts I'm sorry, let me go back a minute here. He was rushed through Double-A. He only played a total of 51 games at that level, including 45 this past year. He did show the power somewhat at the AAA level. It was the first time it's really kind of shown up, but he also increased his strikeout percentage as he moved up a level. The thing you gotta love about Meadows is he really truly is a 5-category contributor. Nothing will jump off the charts at you, but he's going to give you a high average. He's going to steal 20 bags. He has the potential for 30 or more home runs, but it's probably more going to be around the 20 range. What else? He'll score runs. He'll drive them in. He's just going to be a steady overall everyday player. But again, if you're expecting that kind of production in 2017, I think you're dreaming. I think it's way too soon. What's your take with Meadows? And is this a guy you're looking to acquire where you can?
Yeah, and I think the thing with Meadows that people have to keep in mind is this guy was bulleting his way through Double A, had a huge hit streak. I think it was almost 30 games between Double A and then when he was originally promoted to Triple A. And he had, I believe, an oblique injury at the end of June. He missed a month, then came back in August, played a little bit, and I think he re-injured the oblique, if I'm not mistaken. And that ended up ending his season. So, he's a guy that has off the charts ability. This guy was the other Georgia high school prospect, actually comes from the same town as Clint Frazier. They were drafted in the same draft, but funny enough, never played each other in high school. I don't know, no idea how that works, but it did. But either way, off the charts athlete, good 2020 upside, I think, in his first few seasons. I don't think you're going to see a full season this year. I think they're perfectly content if they can't move McCutcheon's money to pay him for this year and see what happens after that. But this is a ready-made replacement in that outfield. I don't know which position he'll slot into. He's got a bit of a weak arm, so I don't know if that means he'll end up playing left or in center field. But overall, as a hitter, he's got power. He had a 130-point jump in terms of ISO this year. It was one of the biggest jumps in terms of, ISO production throughout the minors leagues year over year. So he's finally showing some of that projected power. He's actually showing it in games now. Big walk rates usually is somewhere between 9, 10, 11% walk rates. Doesn't strike out a ton. Those strikeouts were up, obviously, as you said, in AAA. I think he was pushing a little bit when he came back. Had really bad BABIP help as well. I think his BABIP was 236 while he was in AAA. So I don't think it's indicative of the kind of hitter you're seeing. This guy's going to hit for average. He's going to hit for power. He's going to steal bases. He could be a dynamic top of the order sort of run producer. And those are the players you want to target earlier in their careers because that's when they're athletic. That's when they're speedy. That's when their tools are all playing up. It's going to help their batting average with the speed. You get the steals, which are rare nowadays, and you're going to mix it with a little bit of power. I'm all over it.
Yeah, what do you see as his power potential, realistically?
I think he's a 20 home run hitter, and I think eventually his body, if you look at him, he's got some projection in his body still. He's a big, athletic, strong guy.
Right.
I think eventually he could morph into, because of sort of the contact ability that he has, his plate approach, and the raw power that he has. He's somebody that could potentially, at age 30, could be a 30 home run hitter that doesn't run so much. We've seen guys like that evolve in their careers. He's the right sort of athlete and hitter in terms of, his hit tool to be able to, develop as a player over time. But I think initially he's going to be real exciting. He's going to hit for some average and steal some bases and pair up with Marte and Polanco in that outfield. It's going to be another dynamic trio.
Yeah, and you're right. He does have the size and the frame to pack on some more muscle and maybe add to that, power, that power peak. But and depending on who you read or ask or talk to or follow, sometimes to his detriment, sometimes to his credit, he hasn't really been willing to adjust his swing at least to this level and play up to potentially hitting more power. He's content to be a high average guy and more of a doubles, gap hitter. And, some might go out of the park just because he is 6'2", 185. And if he doesn't change that's again why, I think we're in agreement. You're looking at more of like a 20 to 25 homer guy, but definitely, 20 to 25 steals guy and somebody that legitimately could flirt with a 300 average. So, Austin Meadows, definitely a guy that should be on your radar. Perhaps you can find an impatient owner who thinks he's going to be called up this year, and when that doesn't happen immediately, wants somebody that's going to produce right away. You could, maybe get him a little cheaper on the dollar, the first few months of the season. But definitely worth the investment if you can find, strike the right deal. If you're thinking redraft, I'd stay away.
I'm with you. Yeah, I don't think he's going to have a ton of value this year. I think he's somebody that you wait and see, and if it's a redraft league, maybe pick him off of waivers when he gets called up in August, or if somebody gets injured and he's jettisoned a little bit quicker. But I think he starts the season in AAA.
Absolutely, yeah. He's right on the verge, but you're asking him to do a little too much if you're counting on anything this year.
Only 21.
Full tight, exactly. So there you have it. Those are 3 outfield prospects that we feel you should be very interested in and looking into and targeting. You can find all these guys broken down individually in our player library, so make sure you go check that out. We have a separate playlist, 2017 Fantasy Baseball Player Library. easily navigate through there. Please be sure to subscribe to the channel, share the videos, retweet them, embed them, whatever sites you visit. We appreciate all the love and support that you guys have been giving us, and we thank you for it as well. This is the Baseball Show. I'm Andy Singleton. This is Ralph Lifshitz. We will see you next week with another group of players for the 2017 season.